Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Razak at CMTrading. Today is June 14, 2021, and today is Monday morning. So welcome back, everybody, and looking at the highlights of the day. U.S. dollar strengthens versus the major pairs. There is no major economic event scheduled for today, but as the week moves on, we'll have some economic data coming out. Now, first, looking at the currencies, the euro, the GBP, the Aussie dollar, all weaker versus the US dollar as it strengthens. And as we look at the indices, the NASDAQ on its highs, 14,000 points, while the Dow Jones pretty much unchanged for the week. Now, looking at commodities, this is very interesting. Oil trading to new record highs and on its highs as well, while gold falters and trades lower below that 1880-ish level. Now, stocks pretty much unchanged, so it's kind of interesting that the NASDAQ is going before the stocks. And lastly, looking at Bitcoin trading on the top part of its range and possibly breaking out. So we're going to take a look at that and other things in just a moment. So we're going to first start looking at the Euro USD, and we're looking at a 4-hour chart of the Euro USD, as you can see right here. Now, we're at that bottom of the range, okay? We faltered last week. We couldn't sustain this 122-ish level, and we're trading right now at 121. It's almost a 100 pip move, which is not bad for this time of the year. Now, looking at a daily chart, the next real support level is 120.64, so that is still have some room on the downside, okay, as this is developing a downwards momentum kind of trend, okay? So keep this in mind as this is happening. Both the 30-day and the 8-day moving average are having a crossover. Now, when that happens and there's further selling here, then we could anticipate further selling. Now, as we look at the Aussie dollar as well, we see the same thing as it kind of retreated down to 77.105. If we look at the GBP USD, also retreating, not much, but retreating nonetheless. Okay, so the euro, the weakest of the three versus the US dollar, where the GBP has always been the stronger, and that's normal. Okay, but if we see further selling off, we could see it having a major correction here. Now, jumping into commodities. All right, first looking at gold, because this has really been in play. 1900 just nosedives down to 1864. We did have a safety net, if you'd like to call it, at 1880, but that has been breached, and now we're trading at 1864. Now, this is the next support level, 1864, because if we break this, we could go back down to the 1800. Now, with that said, okay, if we are at support level, I do anticipate a bounce here. Question is how much of a bounce? Because we're right there, okay, at 1860. So keep this in mind, and you going to have to pay for the clues from the other markets as well, whether or not the Dow Jones will start selling off or the NASDAQ will start selling off as it's on its highs. Something to consider, okay, as this is still happening in the summer trading, and generally it's quieter season. So this is giving you an opportunity to trade it on possibly a bounce. Now, looking at oil, on its highs at 71.23, which is a beautiful trade on its upper highs. Now, this has been a bona fide upwards momentum. Yes, we did break our moving average last week, but nonetheless, it was a flash flood, meaning it was such a flash sell-off, but a correctional move right afterwards, and we've sustained it, and we're back on our highs. So this continuously can go higher as we're going into the summer months. As I mentioned last week, we're going to see a lot of expansion in the markets because the markets are opening up. Traveling is coming back. So to consider this as a further correctional move as it considers moving up to the $75 range. Now, looking at the Dow Jones, unched, okay? If we look at a weekly chart, okay, just a week chart of what has happened over the past week, not much, okay? We traded as far as 34,814 and traded as low as 34,384. So we've been in in almost 1,000-point range. Now, but what I do want to highlight here is that we're consolidating, okay? This is consolidating at this upper range, and you could see that it's having this effect where we're just trading, almost flatlining at this upper range of 35,000. So consider that as this is still, making that move, but not sustaining its upwards momentum. So at a certain point, I think we're going to make a correctional move, perhaps towards the end of the summer. But right now, we're just trading within a range. However, look at the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ was the weaker one, right? The NASDAQ wasn't the one. It had a very hard time moving higher when the Dow Jones was moving higher, but it finally took itself out onto this 14,000-ish level. If we look at a daily chart, we're smack on the highs, okay? So if we break 14,000, I'm not sure what's pushing this higher, because when we look at the leading stocks of the NASDAQ, they're not breaking higher. So this is kind of an anomaly for right now. Why this is going to 14,000? It could be some of the semiconductors, some of the secondary markets that are pushing the market higher, and that could be a consideration. So it's trading at 14,000. If it does break that 14,000 with some gusto, with some volume, some momentum, then we could see it at all-time highs, believe it or not. Otherwise, we're going to make a correction. Now, the correction could happen at 14,100, could happen at 14,000, but I don't think it's going to be more than 14. If it breaks 14,100, then I would expect it to continue going higher. Now, looking at the individual stocks, okay, look at Apple, trading sideways. Not a big deal here. 125 off of our highs by about 10 points. If we look at Facebook, also trading at 329 off of our highs of about 6 points. Microsoft close to our all-time highs, but not making new highs. Okay, so it's kind of interesting that maybe the stocks are going to have to play catch up to the actual futures market. Now, looking at Amazon as well, and these are all NASDAQ stocks. I would have expected them to be at their all-time highs or pushing new highs. They're not. They're gaining some momentum, but they're not making new highs. Okay, so something to ponder as this is happening. When we look at the Dow Jones stocks, JP Morgan, it's down. Okay, it's been weak. Look at Alcoa, it's been weak. Okay, so, you know, not that JP Morgan and Alcoa always represent the bigger picture of the Dow Jones, but considering that they are two of a very big portion of two separate kind of sectors of the Dow Jones and a composite of the Dow Jones, that's why I look to them. Lastly, looking at Bitcoin, this is where it gets very interesting. 39,398. We're at this top of that range. Is it going to break out? Let's look for it. If it does break out, we're back into that 45, 46,000-ish level. So keep that in mind as this will unfold later today, because it may have that explosive move. This is Fred Razak, and I wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.